My name is Max Stein, and I love video games.
I'm the Mega Buck. I really love video games.
My name is Raph, and I do love video games.
Hey friends, Vinny here, and I love video games.
And welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast, where we discuss treasured video games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Is anyone else really scared right now?
Mac, why are you okay?
There hasn't been a Mac here in 34 years.
Whoa!
The reason I'm doing this ghost impersonation, I want to know who decided that that's how ghosts sound like. Was it like the first Christmas Carol or something made Jacob Marley sound like that? And then from then on out, people were like, ghosts sound echoey.
Probably.
I think it was rather silly.
Also,
It's
that
rather
ghost
si-
sounds
it's
a lot
rather
like
silly.
the King.
It was rather
Anyhow,
silly.
today,
King, just saying.
the reason I'm doing that impersonation is because we're going to be discussing the multiplayer 2020 smash hit, took the world by storm streaming game Phasmophobia, a game that I played for the first time yesterday, believe it or not.
The big scaredy cat.
It was really scary is my long and short of it. But before we get into that, we have some video game news that I would like to touch
Video
on.
game news.
So, two things. First thing, PS5 Collector's Edition. We didn't talk about it when it got revealed. If you haven't seen it, it's beautiful. You guys have
sexy,
all
yeah.
seen it, yes?
It's pretty sexy.
It's in the
Yeah.
original
Oh, they look great.
PlayStation 1 gray. It's got the old school PlayStation logo on it in the multicolors. It's really nice.
Mhm.
The pre-sales for it in America sold out basically instantly.
Wow.
And now people have been selling them on eBay for thousands of dollars.
Holy
I'm talking like well above the range of $3,000
so
a pop.
fucked up, man. So fucked up.
So people were like, dang it, not
People
again, PlayStation. And so the only reason I bring this up, first of all, that was like to be expected. But an interesting thing that I noted was that in Japan, Sony has been taking measures to at least curb scalping in some regard by basically like enforcing these pre-required things for you to have before you're allowed to even pre-register for the pre-order of the PlayStation 5. So one of them is you have to have a PSN account
Okay.
to your name. And then secondly,
This is clever.
you have to have at least 30 hours of gameplay. See what they did there for the 30th anniversary? 30 hours of gameplay logged in on said account between the years of 2014 and 2024. That's pretty forgiving. They're giving you a decade. You can that could be up on the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation 5.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? If you played the PlayStation 4 back when it came out, like I did, but then you haven't played a PlayStation 4 in forever, you're not going to get to play a PS5 ever, then I could still possibly go for that pre-order if I was Japanese. Which leads me to the question, would you gentlemen like to see Sony do this sort of thing in America? And do you think they ever would or could?
でも私は日本人です.
Yeah. You know what he
Sure,
said.
yeah, whatever, yeah.
Get a P.O. box over there. Why
Whatever.
don't you?
Man, I don't know. I think it'd be it'd be a good idea, but I still wouldn't be able to afford one. Honestly.
I'm gonna be that guy. You're not missing much.
Yeah.
There's
know,
a
the
few
PS5
fun
is-
exclusives,
yeah.
and they're not even exclusives for much. Like,
I'm
isn't
sorry. I kind of
Spider-Man
meant
not even
like
an
in
exclusive
regard
anymore?
to like all pre-orders to curb scalping in the future going
Oh.
forward.
I see. Okay.
There is one kind
As a
of collective-
tactic, is it ethical? Is it cool to basically say like, hey, if you've never had the PlayStation, you can't pre-order one because there are people that are doing fucked up shit by ordering a bunch of PlayStations.
That is a little weird, I suppose. But I mean, it wouldn't necessarily work like on a new console, like because this is a re-release of a console that already exists.
It's a collectible one. That's why they're
right?
doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I
What-
don't think this.
What
would
if they did that for the PlayStation 6?
I wouldn't
would
be
you
down
like
for
that?
No, I wouldn't be down for that, honestly. Because what if it's your first console? You know, I mean, I doubt that it is, but what if it's the first one you want to buy?
It's
Yeah.
something for everybody. PS5
exactly.
is somebody's first console.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What if you're a person who just like wants to get the PS5 Pro PlayStation 1 and you've never had a PlayStation before, and then
Yeah.
that would just say you can't get one.
I guess
Right.
maybe find out a way to crack down on bots auto buying stuff. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
but
know
they've
how-
been
I don't
trying
know
to
if
do
that's
that for
even-
years,
yeah,
though.
I
I
don't
mean,
know
like
how you do
Ticketmaster's
that,
been
yeah.
trying to do that since the internet was invented, literally.
Yeah.
Well, Japan's loving it. Apparently, people are like, "Yay, thank you, Sony," over there. So
Is it working though?
That's the
think
question.
I think reportedly they didn't sell out
funny.
within 30 seconds or whatever.
There's
it
one
was.
kind of collector that I don't envy at all, and that is variant console collectors. That has got to be the most brutal. And what I mean is like, the N64s, they made like 10 different colors,
Precisely.
Right.
but there's a gold one they only sold at Toys R Us, and it's like the holy
Wow.
grail for the N64 collectors.
How
You
much
go
is
to like
that?
the PS2, and there's like this navy blue PS2 that was like a Japan Toys R Us exclusive,
I've seen that
stuff
one. It
like
looks
that.
nice.
There's that PSX, not the PS1, which that was its name for a while, but the PSX, which is a variant like silver PlayStation 1 console
Mhm.
that they only got in Japan. So that's rough. That's a rough collecting route.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Vinny, did you have any opinions on the stipulations Japan is putting on its consumers?
I think we too quickly forget about the past. We have short memories, and if anybody was actually trying to get a PS5 in the year 2020 and wanted it for themselves, like legitimately,
You couldn't
we
get one,
forget
yeah.
how insane that was.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many hours I spent just trying to figure out how to buy one. Buck remembers. I was talking about it all over on Discord. And seriously, though, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think if there's a way to get, these things into the hands of the people who actually want to buy them, to use them, and it's not a profit center, I'm all about it. I think they did a great job. Sorry, I'll be the guy.
Hell yeah.
Screw that. I don't care if it's your first system. Play by the rules.
You know what?
Yeah.
That's a good
Fuckers.
point, because
Get in line,
it's
bitches.
your-
I'm going to pre-order it because I'm a fan of Sony.
right. I was gonna say, if it's your first console, was your timing so poor that it's your first console and you need it like the day it launches, right? Like,
Right.
Right.
That's a
No,
good
get
point.
a PS5 when the PS6 comes out. Buy a PS5 as your first console, and then get a
Yeah.
PS6 in another year or two. So that's a really good point. Like,
Or
That's a good point.
honestly, just implement these features within the first like month or two of the release.
that all
within
depends
the
on
first
production
couple of
numbers
months.
anyway, right?
Yeah.
Right.
How
Yeah.
long
yeah,
did it
yeah,
take?
Right,
How long did it take
but-
before PS5s were ready available? 2 years.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
But I think honestly it was because of either people buying up huge amounts of consoles, or even like, was there also issues with COVID at the time? Because I know
Yeah.
that it was during
Yeah, it was
COVID,
2020
so like
output.
production
It was
issues, yeah.
November of 20, like
Yeah.
fall
Yeah.
of 2020. Yeah.
Yeah,
Spoilers:
production issues,
the
everybody wanted
PS5
one,
is already 4 years old, guys.
That's
Yeah.
insane. That's crazy.
So that's enough with the news. Let's go back in time. Buck and RetroGameTreasure.com. Take us to the Retro Zone, pretty please.
Let's go back in time. We can all agree that DLC on video games is a mixed bag, right?
Agreed.
Fair.
Certainly.
You know,
yeah.
There's some a lot of us wish it never happened and it didn't exist. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes there's some really good examples of it out there for games and expansions to games, which are really cool. The newest Mortal Kombat, they added a whole new storyline to it and some extra
Right.
characters. That's pretty neat. That's a really steep DLC. Well, what if your DLC is an entire game, but you can play it with your other games because it's Sonic and Knuckles for the
Fuck.
Genesis?
That's a very funny way to
Because
frame it.
this game
Yeah,
is the original DLC.
it is. Raph,
He's
you ever
right.
played a copy of Sonic and
No.
Knuckles?
What is?
Oh,
I don't-
what?
Well,
yeah,
if
what
you
is
notice
this?
that
Yeah.
this cartridge has a cartridge slot,
On top.
Oh.
because this is the first Sonic game where you could play as Knuckles. You start it up, you could choose as Sonic or Knuckles. It has that amazing Sonic and Knuckles logo that you see
Yeah.
all over, right?
Okay.
That's really cool. But if you owned like Sonic 2, for instance, pop this open here, put Sonic 2 in there. This game's got all the Knuckles sprites, and it lets you play as Knuckles in
Yeah, dude.
Sonic 2 or Sonic 3.
Yeah, bro.
What? Okay, so it
Yes.
worked for multiple games.
So you could
Yeah, I
play
think it worked for 2
yeah.
and 3 for both of those, yeah.
more than one game. That's really cool.
Because
Yeah, so you
this
got 3
houses-
games here. You got to play it by itself, and then
Kinda.
you got to play as Knuckles in 2 or 3, which
Kinda.
you're
Wait,
gonna
so-
want to do. He can
So
climb
it
on
was
the
its
walls.
own
It's fucking sick.
game. It was its own game.
This is its
Yes,
own
as
game.
well. It's its own cart.
Knuckles in-
But they
oh,
figured
that's
out-
fucking amazing.
They figured out, well, if this contains the sprites, and this contains the logic for XYZ add-on, you plug in the other game, which has the levels and all of the other things the assets you need. And when you plug them in and they kind of daisy chain to each other, you just get, they work in tandem, right? They work as just
Right.
like a larger
Right,
cartridge. That's all.
yeah.
It's like dual RAM. this RAM has
That's
Knuckles
cool.
on it.
So Raph,
Cool.
this is the game that if you have the Sega CD Tower of Power with the 32X on top,
and then you got Sonic and
and then
Knuckles,
you
and you got Sonic 3 in that bitch.
and a Game Genie,
Yeah.
then the thing stacks up to like here. And
I think I remember actually doing that in our household, having the Game Genie with Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic 3 in there with the
Crazy.
badass music in Sonic 3. Oof.
Sonic and Knuckles is an awesome game. I think after his death, there was a Sega executive a couple years ago that confirmed that Michael Jackson did work on the music in Sonic 3.
That's what I heard
What?
as well.
Did do a bunch
Yep,
of that, and one of the
that's correct.
and I think Streets
Really,
of
that's
Rage
what I heard.
also. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, there was.
It
always
might
a
have been one of
rumor.
those things where he just came to the studio one day and
Right.
like, let me hear it. And then they
Yeah.
were like, what do you think, Michael? And he's like, he sounds good. And they're like, you heard it. Michael Jackson helped us.
No blanket.
It's like he's in the room with me.
Yeah.
His ghost is here.
Yeah.
This game is really good. This is also a very
I agree.
very
Yeah.
good Sonic game.
A great game.
Yeah, dude. Sonic was
Oh.
my
Great
shit
retro
as a
zone, brother.
child
Great retro zone.
Ever. Like, yeah, you get Sonic, but brooding. I was like, sign me up. Let's fucking go.
Dude. I kind of
He
wish
fucking
I
crosses
had
his
a
arms after he
Sega
finishes the
Girl.
level. Like, I don't even care that I just finished the level. So cool. Well, that's a fantastic one. I really. What? I guess that's just platforming.
Mhm.
You got? Do you have a as for retrogametreasure.com? What sort of profile preferences would you have for a Sonic? Was it like costume platformer or what is it? Like,
Genesis, Sega Genesis, obviously is one of your console selections, and then there's an action platformer that's one of our slightly more generic categories that this obviously falls into. But what you got to keep in mind is we have a wish list feature. So if this is one of the Genesis games that you would really like, you
Which
can
you're gonna want.
select games like this. Absolutely, you're going to select games like this on your wish list, and we'll even go outside of your settings now. Really great example is that let's say that you mostly collect Genesis, Nintendo, Game Gear, those consoles, but you have 10 or 20 PS2 games you would still really like in your collection. You can add those games to your wish list outside of your normal settings. You can still get games like this in your settings, but then we look outside of those settings into the wish list too and might say, oh, you also had Kingdom Hearts for the PS2 on that list. Pluck that over and get that in the box too.
hell yeah.
Hell
Yeah, you're gonna want a copy of Sonic and Knuckles. I
Yes.
feel like Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles is the. If you got a Sega Genesis and you don't got those games, what are you doing with your life? Go to www.retrogametreasure.com and sign up today. Get your gosh dang copy of Sonic and Knuckles, you dingus. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about a game that scared the shit out of me last night. It's Phasmophobia. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and we're here to talk about Phasmophobia.
I'm already scared.
Oh,
Ah!
yeah.
Phasmophobia, developed and published by Kinetic Games, which is essentially just a guy named Daniel Knight. In September of 2020, we were just talking about a game that was successful during COVID. This game was really successful during COVID. Holy camoly,
Yeah.
did this guy strike his timing good. This company, I looked up, he didn't get another person to help him until 2022.
Wow.
That's crazy. For real?
And then like in 2022, he
Damn.
got one employee. And then I looked at the timeline. It's like, and then 3 months later, he got a bunch of employees.
Yeah,
Because,
right,
he was
yeah.
like, oh, whoa, wait, people will do this for me? Holy shit.
And I
Yeah,
can still
actually
make
get more of
money?
these guys in here. Yeah.
Look, man, I'm a programmer, not a businessman. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So Phasmophobia is still overwhelmingly positively rated on Steam to this day after, these 4 years. The October after its release, it saw the top 5 most viewed games on Twitch list
Mhm.
and had something close to 86,000 active players on Steam. And it was the top selling game on Steam 3 weeks in a row in that October. It was whooping
Wow.
ass.
It
That's
beat
like the
out
entire
Fall
month.
Guys and pre-orders of Cyberpunk 2077 at the time, which, yeah.
This game, by the way, costs and still costs $20.
Yeah.
It ended up winning a Game Award in 2020 for Best Debut Game. It got nominated for a Steam Award for the same thing. And then it also won a Game Developer's Choice Award for Best Debut Developer.
And
Cool.
on top of everything, it's just so incredibly foundational in this genre of game, honestly.
Over the past 4 years, it's made some serious wake in the streaming, like games that people play to stream, is what I'm going to say. It is a first-person horror investigation survival game. At least that's what it says on the internet. But if you ask me, this bad boy is a ghost hunting simulator.
It's definitely a sim, for sure. It's an immersive sim.
This is an immersive sim game. This reminds me less of like Dead by Daylight and a lot more like Power Wash Simulator.
No, that's an apt, honestly, it's a very apt. I wrote in my notes here, it's less of a horror game, more of a detective game, punctuated by moments of abject terror.
It can be played in VR, by the way.
Yeah.
When this game first came out, I played it exclusively in VR.
That's
and you
right.
Can play with friends
I
playing in
remember
flat.
that.
That's
So
rough, dude.
I am even more terrified than the rest of them playing this game because I can't escape it. Like I can't just turn away from the screen and be okay, no matter which way I look. That first house you saw that had the kitchen with the island in it.
Tanglewood,
Yeah.
I just remember being around the backside of a kitchen island. So imagine yourself in a game or in a world or in your house behind the kitchen island, and the ghost comes like up the basement stairs and around the corner. And in real life, I have now ducked behind the kitchen island in VR, and I'm peeking up over the kitchen. Is it still there? Is it? It's coming to get me. I need to run. I was so scared.
It's if you've played this game, which like again, I didn't play it till just yesterday, so maybe you haven't. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
What Buck is describing, because when the ghosts begin hunting you, it's so scary. But also what Buck just described was basically like Twitch Gold.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For that October that I explained, and for the next several years, frankly. It can be played single player, but multiplayer is the real jam. I feel
if you're
like,
a masochist.
You can find masochists who are playing VR single player ghost simulator on Twitch to this day. It still is a huge game played on Twitch. I just skipped my radar, but we played this shit. All right, let me get into what the goal of the game actually is when you play it, because I thought it was something different, and this is very interesting.
Cool.
So
I want to hear about that.
Yeah.
All right, the game starts. You pick a map, and then a random type of ghost haunts it, and then it is your job to simply identify which ghost it is, like a game of Guess Who, essentially. Yeah. And the way you figure out which ghost it is that there is a fucking compendium of ghosts, like in an encyclopedia, and that encyclopedia includes information about them that you basically have to test, a la being a scientist, frankly.
Yeah.
Like, so
I'm a ghostologist,
a detective.
After you load your map, you pick equipment. When you first start the game, your equipment that you have access to is very simple. It's something like a flashlight and like a candle and matches and like a thermometer, like an old school thermometer that just like has
like a mercury
numbers written on it that you have to like, oh, it looks like it's 15 degrees Celsius in here.
You didn't even get to deal with the original, like that first level of EMF reader where it's just a needle going back and forth.
Oh, that sounds scary.
It's very hard to read. Yeah.
Later, as you progress, you get more complex tools. Like Raph said, you get a digital EMF reader, which is a ghost thing, and it's like, oh, I got a level 5. That's big ghost shit. Big ghost and then you get this thing called, what was the box that talks?
The spirit box.
The spirit box. You get this thing that is like a radio that scans through all these radio frequencies, and it makes this horrifying static noise that is so scary. And then every once in a while, a ghost will be like, hello, and you're just like, oh my god, did everybody hear that? Anyhow, you use these tools to collect basically pieces of information. For example, did it get to freezing temperatures when you were interacting with the ghost?
Yeah.
And then you take that piece of information and you open up your menu, and there is basically like a Clue the board game style like thing that you can keep track of. So you check off like, yep, saw freezing temperatures. And then a display that shows the name of all the ghosts will change depending on what evidence you tell it that you have seen, and then tell you which ghosts like out of that initial pile it could be. So you
narrow
keep
it down.
gathering evidence until you dwindle the pile down as small as you can.
Yeah.
And then you get one guess as you're leaving to pick what ghost it is. If you guess right, you win. If you guess wrong, you lose.
You still
Correct.
kind of win if you live and
Yeah.
get some
about it,
evidence
yeah.
and get money
I-
out of it.
I kind of glazed over the maps just there, but yo, the maps in this game are fucking crazy. I don't know how many it started with. I think just
Like
probably one,
5.
right? Like or something. But
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
3 or 4, I think.
Yeah, very, very tiny. It was like Tanglewood, Edgewood.
There was a couple of
and then I don't remember
houses.
what else,
They
yeah.
added the high school shortly thereafter. They added
Yeah.
the insane asylum shortly thereafter, which has gotten huge revamps since
Right.
yeah,
then.
you get everything that ranges from a 3-bedroom house to an entire campground, basically, like
Yeah.
complete with like cabin and tents
Yeah.
and like a front desk
Or a
building
whole
and
high
all this
school.
shit.
Like
Or-
a 40 classroom 2-story high school.
The high school is enormous, yeah.
We played the insane asylum before we got on to do the stream, and it has 1 million rooms in it, and they're all scary. And you have to check them all for the ghosts because you are a paranormal investigator. So you're like, okay, you guys, we gotta go get some information. Like
That was great that we brought some of the equipment. We explored the entire place, and literally the very last place we look, I had that sound thing out, and I'm like, "Oh, guys, it's in there." And it's like, "Is it literally in the last place we looked?" Like the
Yeah.
last.
My
We've been here
favorite
for 30
moment,
minutes.
honestly, the last session that we just did, we played like right before we hopped into this, and that session, Mac and I were in the boiler room in the back of the insane asylum, and I'm using the spirit box, and I'm just like, "Where are you?" And then I just hear behind you. Like voices and behind you, like in the voices somewhere. Like, oh my god, dude, scared the shit out of me. I love Phasmophobia though, man. It's a
Well, yeah, that's what I was kind of gonna get to. Is that Raph
yeah.
has definitely played the most Phasmophobia at all. He's like 100 hours. He's the guy that plays it by
146,
himself,
yeah.
like a freakazoid.
I'm a little freaky
runs
guy. I like
around
getting
in
Buck, I
numbers.
didn't realize you played it in VR so much. I guess if
That's
we want to
crazy.
just go around, what are our experiences with Phasmophobia? What do we think about it in regards to its standing as like a survival horror adjacent horror simulator game?
Yeah.
Like, what are your guys' opinions on it? I guess Buck, would you like to go first?
Starting out playing this game in VR made it
So
put it at a totally different level. It almost made playing in flat, that's what it's called when you don't play the VR in the game like that. It's mixed. It almost made playing it flat like a little more timid. Still terrifying for the most part. But when you're walking down that hallway, imagine in an insane asylum, and we're talking to each other, and you're using the radio, which in VR you have to put a hand up to your shoulder like a police officer radio, and like I found it down here kind of thing. But then you look around in the hallway, and you can't escape like the ambiance and the 3D sound and everything that's going on with those.
Yeah, it has spatial sound just like the games that come after it, like Lethal Company and Content Warning. I was going to get more into that, but this game sort of, in my opinion, it was the first of those multiplayer online horror games where you essentially are just surviving. Like we just did our survival game horror episode.
Right,
In these games, you are certainly fighting monsters that are much stronger than you, much faster than you. You're exploring areas to find items, or in this instance, you're finding information. So, and they've all been a hit success. I think in the last episode, Mr. Vanacore was saying horror games have become huge.
Yeah.
So
Massive
recently,
industry,
we
yeah.
play Hunt, which is a horror adjacent game constantly.
Yeah.
I'm already at 40 hours, by the way. I'm
That's
trekking.
crazy.
I'm almost at
Nice.
level 80.
Getting pretty good.
But yeah, this game to me was the real first jump starter into those. But I digress. Mr. Vanacore, what are your opinions and thoughts on Phasmophobia?
So strictly as a horror game, Phasmophobia is quite slow. So if you're coming from a game like Dead by Daylight, if you're coming from a game like Hunt, for example, you're gonna find this to be a completely different vibe. And I think what we didn't talk about as much, and the part that I like about Phasmo the most, is the deliberation. It's almost like one of the social deduction games. Like, okay, who's the werewolf? No, who's the ghost? Okay, but he saw this here, and then wait, that happened, but that contradicts what's in the book, so it can't be that when you're going through the compendium.
Yeah.
I enjoy that part the most, the gathering all the evidence, and it's all anecdotal. It's all
Yeah, right,
anecdotal.
yeah.
Unless you snapped a photo, it's like, no. When you guys were off in this other room, I heard this and I saw the lights, and I know none of you did, but it's got to
Right.
be that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Becomes a game of
is-
telephone.
the
I was gonna say that
melding
is
of the
actually what I was
minds.
gonna when I said that was the thing about this game that I didn't know was an aspect of it. It's exactly this that Mr.
Yeah.
Vanacore is saying. I was like, I did
The-
not realize how many times we are going to leave the map to go back to the van to be like, what's happening? Like,
Deliberate. Everybody
yeah.
get
I
back
had no
together.
clue.
Let's figure out where we are and figure out.
sorry
a
to
game
interrupt
plan.
you.
Yeah.
You continue,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, the melding of the minds is the best part, and that
Yeah.
also comes that also brings the risk. What they
Yeah.
didn't mention was while you're investigating the ghost can haunt you and kill you. So if I saw something and we haven't gotten the chance to go back to the trailer and put our heads together and talk about it, I
Yeah.
may have seen some vital piece of information and I just got choked out by the ghost. So now
Right.
they're never going to know. I
Right.
died in the
Yeah.
playthrough that we just did right before we came on. It was this giant insane asylum. I died first, and I'm like following them around because now I'm a ghost and I can see and hear everything. So I'm like, oh no, they don't. No, shoot, no, they
Oh
just
yeah, they
missed
missing
it.
this.
They
Oh
just
no, they
missed
think
it.
this. Yeah.
And then Mac died so that he and I could talk and we could hear them, but they couldn't hear us. Again, that's a part of the coolness in Phasmo. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, Phasmo is really not my kind of game. But
Yeah.
I think games like that are fun because of the people you play them with. Just as much as the game itself. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have
Yes.
as much fun. I wouldn't have fun at all playing that game with like randos. I
Randos,
wouldn't even
yeah.
attempt
No,
to do it.
absolutely not.
I have fun playing Phasmo simply because my friends are playing the game. And even though
Yeah.
it's really not my kind of game, I can get into it anyway because of just the general, like, hey, it's the group having fun and goofing around and finding ghosts. Oh shit, what just happened? You know, that's the cool
The
part
door just
about.
slammed. The lights just turned on.
Raph was
Run,
nice
Did
enough
anybody else
to
just hear that?
Raph was nice enough to buy basically all all the tools for when we were playing when we
I have a
earlier.
shit
So
ton
we
of
all had
money in
options.
that game,
So
yeah,
one of the
so.
fun things was like just seeing what everybody picked. Because like
Yeah.
as I just mentioned, you go in and out a lot because you go in with some shit and then you'll kind of be like, I didn't bring the right shit.
Yeah.
Like because there are so many tests that you can run to figure out what ghost it is. It's like Venny's saying, like the deliberation part, like the setup is like there are so many tools. So like I like, of course, grabbing all the audio video equipment. And so it's like, okay, things that I can capture with the camera, ghost orbs. So if I see that and I can get that information to these guys without dying, right? We can all collectively in our journals check off ghost orbs as one of the pieces of evidence to reduce the overall choices.
There's a van that all the players start in that
Right.
gives a lot of information that the tools don't. There's a
Yes.
sanity meter for all the players. There's a map so that you can on your radio relay to everyone where they are. You can also see what the ghost's current activity level is at. And if the ghost is currently hunting to kill someone, it'll go a scale from 0 to 10. And when it's at a 10, it's hunting. You want to let
Yeah.
the players know to, hide, run away. There's also a CCTV camera. And larger levels come with pre-built in cameras, but then players can wear helmet cams or bring in camcorders on tripods, and you can set them up facing a room or a hallway, and then you can go back to the van and watch those. Sometimes it's a 4-player game normally, and sometimes you just have a person that's mostly dedicated to the van because they are relaying that information to the other players so they know, hey, I think we're in the right area. No, it's not the west wing of the giant, insane asylum. Go to the centralized location kind of instead of floundering around for 20 minutes.
Not only can they operate cameras, you can bring in microphones that you can plant.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they can
motion sensors,
monitor
too.
those auditorily, and also they appear on the map, and so they can literally be like, okay, I heard the ghost.
audio
He's
meter.
in the kitchen. Go there now to go get the information that you need. This is a gameplay mechanic stolen later by Lethal Company. The
Yeah.
person in the chair. I'm surprised this was earlier. This is a better chair position.
No, absolutely.
You get the
And
cameras. You get to turn the night vision of the cameras on and off at will. You get the sounds, like Buck said. You get the sanity meters, so you can call people. Everyone has a radio all the time. You don't have to carry it on you.
I love that feature. That's my favorite thing. Is that
That's
you don't have to
really
have
helpful.
It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
walkie-talkie, so you can accidentally talk over each other
Right.
too. Like you have to, if someone
That's
else
super fun.
hijacks the frequency, you have to, unhold the button
Yeah.
like real life.
Right.
I guess
I
I
will
should
say
mention that
this.
I was going to say that you
yeah.
can only bring a certain number of items in.
only
Like
so
I
many
should have
hands.
prefaced this whole thing
Yeah,
with
for
that,
sure.
and so that's
Free
where it
items,
comes
yeah.
into the which ones are you going to bring? Sorry,
Here's
go
a-
ahead, Mr. Finnecore.
Oh,
I
yeah, go
will
ahead,
say this:
Benacore, yeah.
avoid the temptation of jumping in a Discord channel with your friends and just freely talking
No,
to each other.
you've gotta-
Avoid the
yeah.
temptation.
Yeah.
Use the in-game proximity chat, because you lose out on a lot of the experience if you just stay in a Discord channel and mute the game and chat with your friends. It totally ruins the experience. Use the in-game features. You will thank me.
And honestly, just to like kind of touch on a couple of the points that you already mentioned, you know, like you talked about the investigative aspect and the voice chat. So two things about this is just one, I find this game ridiculously cozy. I don't know why, but it's something about
Can I
playing with
pause
friends.
you on
No.
that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
this will
yeah.
be your. I figured this is your turn to go off because, like I said, Raph has the most hours in this game, so I'm gonna let you tee off here. But
Yeah.
I was gonna say this game is somehow both scarier and less scary than some of the games where you have to collect physical items, kind of type thing. I find Lethal Company scarier and Content Warning even a little bit scarier than this, and it's because you have work to do.
Yes.
You have
a
so your
job,
mind
yeah.
gets a little bit preoccupied with
Yeah.
going like, guys, we got to do the thing. And did
It's not
you
just
see
pick up
this?
the
Did you
scrap
see
and
that?
leave.
Can we double confirm this? There's like
I'll be
so
damned
much
if I'm not leaving
information.
with evidence.
The
you know?
sim
Yeah.
part, I think, is when you said cozy. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
good
it
point.
is cozy because it feels your mind gets so preoccupied that you're less scared. Sorry, continue.
No, yeah,
Good point.
just you know, it's a game I find surprisingly cozy and kind of chilled to just be doing a job with your friends, chatting. But that being said, is that the cozy veneer will drop at any moment, and when it
That's
does,
true.
it gets
Yeah.
absolutely terrifying.
Magical.
Lights flashing, everyone's screaming, "Oh my god! Everybody run! Everybody run!" Beeping going off like the fucking EMF.
A ghost is whispering in your
Yeah.
ear, and then
Yeah.
you look to your left, and there's a silhouette of a small
Yes,
girl whose neck
yes.
is like twitching like the ring or whatever. And you're like, oh my God, whoa. This game was like doing nothing for
Yes.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
We were just walking around in a silent house, just with nothing going on. And it was just like, especially in that insane asylum that we played, we had to search, like Buck said, so many rooms before we actually found the room that had the activity going on in it, that I really did lull into a sense of security where I was just like, honestly, like, I don't even know if the ghost is going to show up. And then when it did, it was like, oh my God, no!
This house
like,
doesn't have a ghost. We should quit, guys.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about this game is that with other games, like I've played a lot of these co-op horror games, and Phasmo for me is the most well-refined and tonally like cohesive, because other games, they just either they try too hard to be scary, or they lean into the Scooby-Doo-esque sort of silliness that like Lethal Company or Content Warning do. Phasmo sits in this weird place where the horror is subtle, mundane, and tense all at once. It's really wild, man.
That's an excellent point. You know what it reminds me of? This is a movie that I love, Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
The first Paranormal Activity does an excellent job. Even Skinamarink is a movie that does this, where it lulls you into like nothing's happening. I guess nothing is happening.
Nothing ever
There's
really
so many.
does.
And then because when one little tiny thing does the littlest tiny thing, it causes you to go, oh my God.
Phone.
Have you ever seen the show Mad Men?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just for 3 seasons, nothing bad happens to Don Draper. All of
That's
this
so
shit that he's
true.
doing, and nothing happens. And you're finally like something finally bad is gonna happen, right? Then something bad actually does happen, but like it took 70 episodes.
Right. It's almost like you were thinking nothing's going to happen to Don.
It's not
I
that
guess
kind
he's
of
going to get
show.
away
Nothing
with
bad's
it
gonna happen. Yeah.
constantly. No, that is such a good point. This is another strange parallel, but the way saying that horror is mundane reminds me of, there's a movie called Restrepo. It's a documentary about soldiers in this. It's the most frequently attacked base in the Middle East, and it's just a documentary about their lives. And the most horrifying thing about their lives is the mundanity of it. It's like we're all basically just like doing work, right? We're taking like this base, we're taking care of this base, and just kind of like waiting for something to happen. And this game's the same way. We're all just doing work, getting readings, exploring rooms. Sometimes it takes a long time before something happens, and then when it does, it just makes it so much more scary.
And honestly, there's one more feature that I want to talk about that you guys actually haven't touched on, only tangentially, the voice activation itself. So not only is there a proximity chat, but there is a voice recognition software in this game, and the ghost is actively listening to you the entire time. So when it's hunting, it can hear you. If you say certain words, there are certain words that will trigger it. If you say the ghost's name, it pisses the ghost off and it makes it more aggressive. It actually, I've read that I think it actually stops the countdown timer if you say the ghost's name. I think it cuts off the countdown timer at some point.
Wow.
That immediately will set it to the point where it can start hunting immediately. And that is honestly, again, another piece of mechanics that's just shows how foundational this game is in the genre, because the later games all started borrowing from that. Lethal Company has the voice chat now. In that other game we played, Pilgrim, has the monster that steals your voice. It's constantly listening, it steals your voice.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It feels like you're dealing with a real ghost in Phasmo.
I didn't get to interact with it, but there's a Ouija board in the game. Yes,
there is a Ouija board. There's several cursed objects.
So you straight up can ask it questions and it'll answer shit on the Ouija board, which is buck wild.
It'll tell you where its location is, and
it'll talk to you through the spirit box. Like if you say like, "Where are you?" Like
it'll say behind you.
It'll say behind you or whatever. How old are you? Things like this.
Yeah. That actually the Ouija board, if you use it, and so like all the cursed items, there's a downside to using them. They sometimes will initiate what's called a cursed hunt, which is a longer hunt and a more aggressive hunt by the ghost. But if you're using the Ouija board and you do not say goodbye before ending the conversation, it will immediately trigger a cursed hunt. Whoa. That will go for the person who is on the Ouija board. Yeah.
That's dope.
There is also, we didn't even talk about that. There's several cursed items. So we found in the asylum, we found the tarot deck. I didn't get to use it, but the tarot deck, you can pull it up and just start pulling cards from it. And the cards will sometimes either initiate a hunt or make it so that if you pull a certain card, you can revive a dead teammate with it. And that's a thing. And then the other thing was the blood circle. We didn't find the blood circle, so there's a blood circle sometimes that forms on the map. And if you need to, for example, you have a sub objective, because there's sub objectives in these games sometimes.
Explain those.
You have to so sometimes it'll tell you, you have to get a photo of the ghost, you have to get the ghost to blow out a candle, or you have to like use a smud stick, which is just like an incense stick to like kind of dispel the ghost in that area. If you find a blood circle, you light all the candles and it will summon the ghost right there in the blood circle. You can grab a picture.
These are all new to me. It didn't have any of this special stuff when I played the game.
If you complete those subtasks when you finish the game, you'll like get more money.
Yeah, you get a bunch more
and you use the money to bring more.
And there's a bunch of like everyday subquests. Like if you just use your digital picture to your digital camera to like take pictures of ghost shit. Like a handprint on the wall and UV light or something, or like a bone on the ground. Like you'll get more money and points for that, because you get experience points and shit as well, whatever. But so can we all off the top of our head think of the scariest thing? I only played a couple rounds, so I know exactly which one it was. But
I've got one too.
Yeah, Buck, would you like to go first?
Sure. So what Raph was just mentioning about the ghost listening to you all the time, even early on in the game, there are certain ghosts that are more sensitive to speech. So one of the things you will learn to do when you play is to try to not panic during a hunt, because it can make it more angry, more aggravated, make it hunt longer, make it continue to follow you. If it can't hear your voice, some of them will just stop hunting.
Yeah.
So you learn to run and hide and be quiet when you're trying to avoid a hunt. So I'm in the insane asylum, the early one, which is just this like line-shaped, mundane, 60-room, ginormous 2 or 3 story building, right? And I'm like, well, we can't find. We've been in this place for 20 minutes, something, and we have not found the ghost. And I was like, you know what, guys, it's time to just split up and try and go find something. And I'm in the basement by myself.
Is this in VR?
This was in VR.
Oh, that sounds so scary.
And I hear over the radio, like, it's here, it's up here in this room. Back on the radio, me. Where are you guys? Where is that? We're up on the top floor. It's in the... Guys?
Oh, dude.
Guys, are you there? Now I'm in the bottom floor of the basement by myself. Radio silence from my teammates. I think maybe 10 minutes went by, probably like 30 seconds, but in my brain it was like 10 minutes. And they come back, guys, come on, are you there? Are you there? No, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here too. We were just hiding from the ghost. It came hunting for us.
Wow.
Well, you left me in this basement up by myself.
We only played a couple games. Mine was that we were in a 3-bedroom house, and it's got a living room and a basement in it. And I was operating the cameras, and we were pretty far into the hunt. We knew that the ghost was in this child's bedroom, and we were streaming. And so I'm trying to be humorous, and I've got the camera out, and it's got a little tiny viewfinder that you can turn night vision on and off of. So it's like the fucking Blair Witch. So I'm walking around without a flashlight and just the UV finder, and so I'm having to like bring the attention of my focus to the little UV finder to see, or the little viewfinder, and for like an instant, I'm serious, like for a single frame of game, it showed me like a little girl's face, like right here in my fucking face. But my peripheral, I only saw it in my peripheral vision, and like so I'm playing with the other guys and like trying to be fun. And then like in the recording, you probably see me like. And then, like, a second and a half after that, the ghost appears down at the end of the hallway and is just, like, doing some ring shit. And I just screamed and moved so hard that if you watch the stream, like, it shook my camera and shook everything on my desk. Like, it was so fucking scary. The door slams closed when it starts hunting. And so I just see the door behind all my homies close. And then there's just a scary girl in the hallway. And I'm just like, I have nothing. I can't do anything.
Watching your friends suffer is
Pick
so much
whatever
fun.
you
Oh my
want.
God. Venicor, can you think of a story off the top of your head?
Oh, it probably was. So like the second or third game we played the other night, we went to this. It was an outdoor map. It's basically reminiscent of Camp Crystal Lake from
It's
Friday
so
the 13th.
Camp Crystal Lake.
It's Camp Crystal Lake. So Raph and I find this cabin in the back next to a dock, and like, oh, a dock. Oh, there's a whole cabin back here. Wow. So me and Raph go into this cabin, and like you can see your breath sometimes if the temperature drops. I remember we were in there like, could see your breath. We probably should bring a thermometer to see if it reaches, 0. And then just like out of nowhere, all the lights start shutting off. Everything starts flickering. We're like, oh, time to go. And like, all right. And we get out and we shut the door. Like, okay, we shut the door. No problem. Oh God, it came through the door. Run.
Yeah.
And then
Doors
next,
don't stop it.
doors don't stop ghosts. And then, the next thing you know, I got these fingers creeping onto my face. I'm like, oh, I'm dead.
Oh, and you die. You
I
get
didn't
taken
know
to,
they
like,
could go
the
through
sunken
doors. I
place,
was
and
like,
then-
well,
oof. So
later,
scary.
Gator.
Raph, what do you think
Toss
is
me in the lake with Jason, dude.
Your most memorable moment in Phas?
So my most memorable moment was shortly after the first, like, that big update that changed the Insane Asylum into its current incarnation, which the Insane Asylum is much more interesting now than it used to be. It used to be kind of like a bunch of
It was pretty boring.
basically the same cut and paste rooms, and it was kind of hard to navigate. But first time we were in there, it was me and two other friends of mine, and we were walking around just shooting the shit. We had done the thing for like an hour, gone down into the basement, heard some spooky stuff, which I don't think we didn't really get to hear it today when we played. But if you're down in the basement and you're quiet, you'll start hearing stuff. You'll hear stuff moving, like chairs moving, doors closing that aren't actually closing. It's all ambient noise, but it's very scary. You'll hear actually screams in the asylum downstairs. You'll hear like,
Ooh.
yeah, like all throughout the basement in the asylum. We were wandering through there. We finally had gotten upstairs. We had been playing at least maybe 30 minutes now, and nothing was going on. Our sanity was probably pretty damn low, and we were just wandering around. And then at one moment, we were up on the second floor of the asylum, walking through a hallway, just talking. And then all of a sudden, my flashlight just starts flickering. And I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? And then at that moment, the ghost manifests in front of us. Everything goes crazy. My flashlight's going all over the place. My friends are screaming, and we all died because I think it was a banshee, and it killed us one after the other, basically.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's
the
a
banshee
thing.
will like kill you and then immediately go for the next person. It's crazy.
Really?
Oh, man.
But it was just that moment of everyone screaming and panicking all of a sudden after like a half an hour of absolute silence,
Nothing.
lights flickering everywhere, everyone's running, and then everyone's gone.
Wow, that's one of those extra sort of pieces of information that's featured in those encyclopedias. We
Right,
didn't
in the
touch
book,
on
yeah.
it, but
Little
like
anecdotes.
beyond
Right,
telling you
yeah.
the exact information, like will reach freezing temperature, like it'll say things like this ghost never touches the ground. So if
Yeah.
you see a footprint, it's not this ghost, or like this ghost can haunt two places at once. So if if two of you have talked to one another and it's got a haunting at the same time, it's this one. But yeah, man, verdicts. This game for $20.
Oh yeah,
very worth it.
Fucking good, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe it took me this long to play. I think honestly the only reason I wasn't playing is because it sounded so scary. It sounded like too scary for me to play.
Is it as scary as you thought it was?
It pretty much is, but like I said, I think that my number one caveat to take away for any viewer that hasn't played it is I was surprised by the level of sim game that this is, and the amount of downtime that you have, and the amount of time that you spend thinking, okay, what have we missed, and how do we get that information? Who's gonna do it? All of that, you know what I mean? So
and that's the real game right there. Honestly.
I believe so.
Is that what you didn't think it was? What kind of game did you think it was going into?
I thought I didn't know what I didn't know the objective was to just guess and collect. I didn't know the means of doing so was just by collecting information. I thought that I thought it was more like that game Devour, maybe, where you were like banishing a ghost, or maybe just like, I don't know, maybe you had to stop. I thought you had to stop it with something. I thought you had to leave and escape or something. Or
you thought you would get to win? No.
Yeah, right. No.
That's part of what makes it so fun, is because it is very different in that respect, and it actually makes you think instead of just how quickly can you act in the heat of the moment. It's not that kind of game,
right? Yep. So that's my. If you got Buck, what would you say about Phasmophobia? Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal game that deserves the praise for the dollar amount that it has, and it's pretty interesting that it helped kind of kickstart a subgenre that it's still kind of the master of. Like they've tried to. There's like a Ghostbusters official one that like no, it doesn't hold a candle.
And
to
this
it.
one's still better. It's plays differently and better than Lethal Company and Contact.
I have an awesome Phasmophobia adjacent quick story, and that is, so this game came out in 2020. So we have a bunch of escape rooms here in Orlando. We have one in particular that I love called the Bureau. We've been to almost all of their houses already.
Nice,
now. We've done their Loch Ness one, and we've done their henchman one for like a mad scientist, all that. And one of the ones that I did was a haunted elementary school.
Fun.
Cool.
And when you talk about how tech makes these escape rooms so great right now, so this would have been about a year ago that I went and did this one. So after I'd played Phasmo before.
Yeah.
And you could tell when they engineered this room, they had checked out games like this. Because check this out, right? Instead of just the ambient noise in the room, it was a hallway and a couple of rooms and like a classroom and a principal's office. They made you wear those headphones that have like the bone, they touch the bones to your ears, the vibration things to your ears. And they gave you all flashlights to use inside, right? So when you started, they told you you'd get status updates of like your sanity basically on the little things up to your ears. And it did that periodically. But we get about 10 minutes in and I hear in my ear, like little giggly girl. And I'm looking, this is real life, right? And I'm holding a flashlight trying to read a clue in a book. And all of our flashlights start to flicker.
Oh, that's
horrifying.
These headsets and these flashlights were like Bluetooth enabled to tie into their software so it could pull off like video game shit in real life.
What is this? What is this place?
I'll show you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. We have to go there this year, honestly.
You guys should go do that one. I would almost do that one again. It was so much fun and so scary. That is not where the tech ended. It's really good. They use like magnets to lock doors and all kinds of cool stuff so that it can be software driven
as hell. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Raph or Mr. Vinicore, did either of you guys have any closing words you wanted to say about Phasmophobia before we move on?
You can go first, Vinicore, if you like. Yeah.
I don't really have any parting shots. I enjoy playing with friends, honestly, and it's a great game. It deserves all the accolades that it has gotten, and it is held up very well. I'm amazed. I'm amazed that in the year 2024, people are still playing and streaming Phasmophobia just as much as ever. I mean, that's pretty impressive in such a fickle industry where all it takes is one new release and everybody's jumping on the bandwagon, and all of a sudden, oh well, why is the player base of Pal World basically zero now? 6 months ago, it's and Phasmo yet. Despite all that, Phasmo has held up. So there's kudos. It's well deserved, and it's a blast with your friends. I'd recommend it for sure.
Yeah, Raph.
I will say honestly, there is just I can't believe that a game can be so incredibly immersive without anything like music or any sort of like jump scare events. Any jump scares that occur are purely organic. You walked into a room and the ghost just happened to be there and it popped up in your face. There's no intentional jump scares. Devour, that game has unintentional jump scare. When you got, you get a big screamer in your face and loud noise in your ear. This game doesn't do anything like that. You're just in a room and a ghost shows up and you get scared. It's amazing.
That's a
I'm
good
just a
point.
boy in a room with a ghost.
You just a guy in a room and a ghost shows up.
Yeah,
Ladies, take note. All right. That does it for our discussion on Phasmophobia, I'd say. Will we play it again is the question. For $20, I don't feel bad not playing again. I'll tell you that. That shit is scary as hell. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to do our What Else You Got, and then we'll go ahead and wrap our episode up.
There's been no reports of violence or sightings, but please remain careful.
Okay, gentlemen, what else you got? This segment of our show where we're allowed to bring anything to the table, be it video game or otherwise. I will go first. I'm on the last boss of Cult of the Lamb.
Cool.
Oh, right on.
Letitia and I have been playing and playing. There's the weird glitch where we can't see how long our game time is in game. It just says 0 minutes. But I'm not surprised because this game is full of glitches. Regardless, we've been loving it, and all we have to do is kill the last boss, but he's hard as hell. So we've tried a couple times and haven't been successful. I've been playing Hunt. As I said, I'm on like level 80 something. Raph and I played a couple games last night and got 2 extractions in a row.
Nice.
2 for 2,
Hell
which
yeah.
was nice.
Nice,
So I'm
guys.
about to prestige there.
Yeah, nice job.
But I haven't been playing many other video games because my basically main What Else You Got is that my student film is debuting this week. So I've been doing
Oh,
a bunch of
yeah.
shit to get ready for that.
Hey, nice.
The
That's
Nook
awesome,
and
man.
East Robinson is hosting my short film, The Nook, which will be featured hopefully on YouTube after we do the premiere this Saturday.
Hell yeah. Nice.
So that's all I have this week, unfortunately. Buck, what else have you got for
That's
us?
all you got? It's spooky month, so I re-upped my Shudder subscription because it's time
Hell
to
yeah.
really watch some spooky movies, right?
That's a good idea.
They've got a new VHS movie out since last year, a sci-fi themed one.
Dude,
There's
that one,
some-
I guess, honestly, pause there. Raph, have you seen the trailer for the new VHS movie?
No.
It looks so scary.
I love
it
it.
looks
Got a Shudder
I
account. We
love
can watch
those
it.
movies. They're so good.
I've got a Shudder
Scary.
account. We can watch it.
It's funny. I just the other day when I was looking through, there was an eBay seller that had a bunch of like DVD collections and other things, and one of the things they had was the Record collection. And the first Record movie is just
We watched that just like last year, right?
oh, I love that movie so much. I like the VHS series a lot. I think there's a couple hit or miss ones in there, but like the '80s one was a whole lot of fun. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. There's
Mhm.
some knockoff Terrifier movie on here called The Jester. I'm probably gonna have to watch it just because.
Just
And
noted.
Terrifier 3 comes out soon. I think the early
Yeah.
reviews came out. They said something like 90% Rotten Tomatoes, and like 11 people walked out of the screening. So that's a
Fuck yeah.
thumbs
Oh,
up
yeah.
for me on because that's the way Terrifier is supposed to be. The other one is, don't forget, and Mac, if you can pop up on screen there too, that we've got the giveaway going for a boxed Sega Genesis on the
Nice.
Retro Game Treasure Facebook page.
Boss
Of different ways.
chest.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to enter by following that page, following the podcast, listening to that, subscribing to our service, tweeting, Xing, whatever it's called, doing all that kind of stuff. And there's a bunch of ways to enter, and some of them you can do more than once. So
Nice.
Right.
Nice. All right, Raph, what else have you got for us this week?
Well, like you said, it's spooky month, so I decided to. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of these, but the Dark Pictures anthology games. You guys ever heard of them? Yeah. Okay.
Those are
So,
great.
yeah. I've played Man of Medan, which is like I guess considered to be the best one. Done that one before. It's really good. But this week I was like, let me play through Little Hope. I had never played it before. And I ended up playing through the whole thing and beating it like 2 nights ago, and I was pretty happy with it. I wasn't super thrilled about the ending, but I think overall the experience was excellent. It was pretty cool. I got 2 of the characters killed, unfortunately, but it felt like a real slasher movie, a real horror movie. Just a really cool game that I would love to play with people, honestly. Because it's kind of like The Quarry, where you can play with
That would be
friends
cool.
and yeah, right, exactly. Honestly, I think that maybe we should probably stream one of these games. Maybe like the either Little Hope, I've already played that one, or Man of Medan, or even The Quarry itself. But man, dude, it's good. If you're not aware of like what the premise is, it's to not spoil too much or give away too much, but you're playing as a group of people who are on a bus. They're in a bus crash, and you crash near the titular town of Little Hope, which was a big place during the witch trials. It's supposed to kind of be based on Salem. And as you're wandering through, it actually reminded me a lot of Silent Hill, because you're moving into this kind of abandoned ghost town, and there's this fog everywhere, and the fog is like keeping you in the town.
Ooh, scary. Cool.
You know, as the characters, the fog is like forcing them to move deeper and deeper into town, and all of that has to do with something that happens in the intro and some other stuff that goes down that I don't want to give away too much. I highly recommend playing it.
So you're saying we need to play Casting of Frank Stone?
Oh yeah, right, yeah. But no, yeah, dude. Honestly, it's a really great game. I had a blast with it. I'm really glad that I beat it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more scary games this month.
Nice, Mr. Vanacore. What else have you got for us this week? Anything?
Fantastic shout outs this week. I'm glad you brought up the quarry raft, because I was going to say that my biggest recommend for this spooky season, guys, is if you have a chance to get the quarry or download. I think it's available on PlayStation if you have the PS Extra subscription.
Yeah,
Get yourself a copy of that game. Get your hands on it. It is a blast, and I really would like to play Casting of Frank Stone. It's the Dead by Daylight universe that. Yeah, it's basically, it's just like the Dark Pictures anthology, just like the Quarry, that style of game, but it's set in the Dead by Daylight universe. Apparently, an alternate timeline of sorts. We don't know for sure because none of us have played it yet. But what else you got? So I got a lot going on these past couple weeks. We picked up Astrobot on the PS5,
nice.
And man, they knocked it out of the park.
That's what everyone's
awesome,
saying.
yeah.
My kids love it. They get home. My eldest gets home from school, and I get home from work, and he's like, "Daddy, can you play the robot game?"
Oh,
Absolutely loving Astrobot. It's got tremendous Mario 64 vibes, where you have to like find the stars. Well, instead of finding the stars, you're finding the different bots and the puzzle pieces, and that's like the main premise. But
right,
lots
all the
of fun
different
little
cameo
twists.
bots.
That slowly remind us of dead Sony games that we're not going to see sequels to, like Legend of Dragoon and Ape Escape.
Oh man, the Metal Gear Solid characters are in like the second level. You don't have to go far.
So good.
Hell yeah.
So cool. Literally, Mac, Dart from Legend of Dragoon is one of the guest bots.
No, we know.
That's cool.
It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, Bloodborne, Ape Escape, the God of War level is amazing. The God of War level is amazing. It's at the end of the second world. Check it out.
I realized that this was like an amalgam of different PlayStation IPs. I didn't realize that.
Yes.
That's cool.
So, yeah. Like after you beat the boss of each galaxy, right? There's a bonus level which you basically become a famous character from a Sony game, and you play like a little level of God of War. It's really kind of neat. But as the bot, of course. And we also finished the second season of House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones spin-off series, and it was very good. It didn't get the greatest reviews, but my wife and I both loved it. There's going to be 2 more seasons of House of the Dragon. Really looking forward to it, but probably won't get any of that until like 2026. So we will just we'll just wait over here and enjoy. And by the time this episode airs, Metaphor Refantasio will be out.
Right.
It is my most anticipated game of the year by far. I will do a little unboxing video that we could possibly share a little clip from. It is undisputed my top game of the year that I'm waiting for. So I'm pretty stoked. Let's go.
That's the Persona Team RPG that takes place in a fantasy realm.
Yeah, like a
yeah, baby.
Looks
I
sick.
definitely like the setting. It looks super cool.
Yeah, it looks
Nobody
ridiculous.
does style or menus quite like Atlas.
Yeah,
so
It's true.
get ready.
Well, nice. Hey, listen, that's our show. That's it. We've done another episode of the Game Treasure Podcast. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being with us. Do us a huge favor. If you haven't, like this episode, like our page, or however that liking thing works, and subscribe. That for sure. You can subscribe to our page, subscribe to this podcast. Head on over to our Instagram at the Game Treasure Podcast. If you're a person that just listens because you don't like to watch your podcasts, you're missing out on some funny things that we do with our faces. So if you subscribe to the Instagram, I try to handpick the funniest things that we do with our faces and then serve them up to you in 30-second bites so you can see
something about that
flying
doesn't sound quite right to me.
Yeah.
But let's move on.
So finally, you can reach us with any questions, comments. Notice I didn't say complaints there. At GameTreasurePodcast@gmail.com.
Our egos are too fragile. Please don't do that.
You can find links to all our stuff at linktree/the GTP. We want to thank Crunk Witch, the band, for the use of our theme song, Clash of the Droids, the song. We love them. You can find them on Apple Music and Spotify and everything. Any place you can find music on the internet, pretty much. Except for maybe Beyonce's little private streaming thing. And of course, we would like to thank RetroGameTreasure.com, owned and operated by Buck himself, aka the Mega Buck. Retro Game Treasure is a subscription service that sends video game collectors custom boxes of retro video games every single month. So what you do is you go to www.retrogametreasure.com. You make a profile, select which subscription you would like to have. I know Buck is getting that premier tier subscription hopefully soon. And what happens is every month you will get a box of games delivered to your house that is tailored to fill out your collection. What I mean is that if you don't own a Nintendo Entertainment System, you don't collect Nintendo Entertainment System games, most likely. I guess you might if you're a freak. But that means you tell Buck, I don't have a Nintendo Entertainment System, and that box will not have Nintendo Entertainment System games in it. This goes one step further, where you actually get to tell them what genres, what types of games that you like. So you tell him, first of all, I have a PlayStation, and I want shooter games. I want RPGs. And your box will be filled only with PlayStation 1 games that are either or both shooters and RPGs. It works with the power and magic of numbers. RetroGameTreasure.com. Obsessed with video games since 1985. Buck, do you have a list of new subscribers that you would like to hit me with?
Heck yeah, buddy. This week we welcome Steve Horner, Dakota Dickey, Kyle Nealand, Joel Pilepow, Paul Fletcher, Mark Gorman, Jeremy Carver, and Joshua Cheney.
All right. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. It means a lot. My name is Max Stein, and I love the Game Treasure podcast. It's so bad.
It's so bad.